Hello, everyone. This is the match preview for Everton versus West Ham United. Everton haven't played, obviously, since before the game against because the game against Arsenal was postponed due to the Queen's passing. So we haven't had football for 2 weeks now. So it'd be nice to have a nice distraction again after not being able to have any football in the Premier League for a little period. Now, West Ham this season have been a bit of a disappointment, you'd say, for West Ham fans. I'm just looking at their results this season. They just go back to the start of the Premier League season. They lost on the opening day to Manchester City, and then they lost again to Nottingham Forest. This was the 14th of August. They did win in the Europa Conference League. Then they lost again to Brighton and Hove Albion, won in the Europa Conference League. They did beat Aston Villa away, who were also struggling a little bit this season. Got a draw at home to Spurs. Lost to Chelsea, which was quite controversial. Won in the Europa Conference League. And obviously their game against Newcastle last weekend was postponed. And then they won last night in the Europa Conference League. So you'd say, I mean, it's a very disappointing start for them in terms of what your expectations for West Ham are. Potentially this season, coming off the back of last season, and with the way they've recruited with some really big name strikers coming in, and the very talented midfielder from Lyon. But they're languishing in 18th in the Premier League with, in the last sort of period, of games, 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 defeats. And Everton, obviously, we're not doing too much better, but we've drawn the last 4 games, unbeaten in 4. So it's going to be a really interesting clash this weekend to see how the teams do, obviously, because they haven't been able to get the wins on the board. Obviously, Everton is still chasing the first win of the season. And only Leicester are the only other team in the league to have not won a game. But I suppose the difference between us and Leicester is Leicester have lost 5 times. We've drawn 4, and we've only lost twice. So it's a massive, massive game for both teams. West Ham are going to want to bounce back, but obviously Everton are at home. We're going to be expecting something to happen, and I actually think this game is a really good opportunity to put a marker down for our season at home with Calvert-Lewin potentially back, and a lot of the new players who've come in, like Garner Gay, Onana, Garner, who we signed from Man United, will have had some time to train with the team and bed in. So it's going to be, I think the onus will be on us this weekend to get the win, to get a positive result, and to kickstart our season really. And I think once we break our duck, I think we can go on to have a really solid campaign. I'm not going to say we're going to compete for Europe or anything, but I think we can get into lower mid-table, upper mid-table potentially if we can put a good run together and keep everyone fit. I just watched Frank Lampard's press conference, and he talked about injury news. So I'm just going to go through that as well, which is obviously really important. He says that Calvert-Lewin is fully fit, but he's going to make a decision on him ahead of this weekend's clash, because obviously he hasn't played any football since pre-season, and it was a bit of a stop-start end to last season. So he hasn't played a lot of football for a while, really. And although he was in very good physical condition before his injury, it was a bad injury. So, I mean, I do personally hope that Calvert-Lewin starts. I think if he's fully fit, play him. I think there's no point trying to bring him back in slowly. We've got to try and get some wins on the board. And we've been playing without that target man that we like and that focal point. So I would 100% bring him back in if he's fully fit. Give him 60 minutes, see how he does. And obviously you've got the option of Neal Maupay on the bench. There's a good chance he'll do the opposite and leave him on the bench and go with Maupay. And I think he'd be fair enough to do that, to be honest, because he had a decent game against Liverpool, should have scored, but was effective as a presence up there. So it'll be interesting to see if Calvert-Lewin or Neal Maupay leading the line for us. In terms of other injury news, though, Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina are still a few weeks away. It's looking like a couple of weeks after the international break for Mina and Holgate, Ben Godfrey won't be seen until after the World Cup. Jordan Pickford is the other major injury. He You wouldn't expect he will be fit now until after the World Cup. Not sorry, not after the World Cup. After the international break. It's confusing that because why have we got an international break in the middle of the season? In November, sorry, in October, but we've got the World Cup in November. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me. Why do we need this Nations League just before the World Cup? Absolute bizarre. In a season which is already disrupted, it makes no sense. But from our point of view, gives a chance to get Jordan Pickford back and available for after the international break, which will be either against Southampton or Man United. I know people talked about a lot about whether the postponement of the game because of the Queen passing away was a good thing or a bad thing. Now, if you strip obviously the emotional element to do with the monarch's passing out of this, from a purely footballing point of view, you could say it was good because it's given Calvert-Lewin and some of the players who just signed a chance to bed with the team and to get to full fitness. But on the other hand, it's a couple of weeks since we played Liverpool. You want some kind of momentum when you're actually doing okay. And you're always going to have injuries regardless. You're bound to have injuries. So to say, oh, it's good because it gets players back, you're always going to have injuries regardless. We'll probably get players injured in the next couple of weeks. It's Everton. But I think it's good in the way that, we're going to have those players. Hopefully they'll be fresh. Hopefully they'll be coming into the team or at least, having some input, and it will have done them good to have had that time to gel. Obviously, there's an interactive show. I know I've done this in the afternoon. It's quite quiet, but it'd be good to get some people's thoughts on the team news, the selection, and the predictions for this game on Sunday against West Ham. So, West Ham's injuries, let's look at them. They haven't got an awful lot of injuries. That being said, they've got a really strong squad and not a lot of players out. Just Ben Johnson. I think he's a fullback, Benjamin Johnson. He's out. And Naef Ugard, I've never heard of him. I'm not going to lie. But looking through the West Ham team, I'm just going to see the team that played last night in the Conference League, in the Mickey Mouse competition. So bear with me 1 second. Let's just have a little look. They survived a late scare. It was a narrow win, 3-2. And yes, I do actually think it's a good thing that they played in the Conference League, especially away from home, because you've seen it pass with Everton teams where they've had Europa League on a Thursday and played on a Sunday, and they haven't been fresh. So I think it's probably a good thing that they had an away game in the Conference League. Just looking at the lineup for them to see how strong they went. West Ham. Kufal, Lanzini, Rice, Emerson, Cornet, and Scamacca. So that's their new striker, Scamacca. He played 60 minutes. But they still had a lot of talent on the bench that didn't come on. Jared Bowen, Ogbonna, Souček, Fabianski, obviously their first choice keeper, he didn't play. Kurt Zuma, the cat kicker, and Fornells only came on for the last few minutes. So it's a strong team with no injuries. I think West Ham are going to be really, really tough on Sunday, and I think we're going to have to be on our game. But from what I saw against Liverpool, I'm coming into this game quite positive. I've got an expectation that we are going to beat West Ham, and I think it's a good opportunity to lay down a marker. Just going to quickly go to the comments. I've got Nikki. Hi, Nikki. Good afternoon. And Dave, thanks for tuning in. I know it's a bit of an awkward time. There's a lot of people are in work, but I did want to make sure we had some content out ahead of the West Ham game. And Dave is saying, I think DCL starts on the bench and gets 20 minutes in the second half. Well, you've got to trust Lampard. I'm sure he'll make the right decision on him in the build-up to the game. I just think if he is fully fit, Calvert-Lewin, I would like to see him start, and I would like to see us stick with the 4-3-3. Obviously, it's massive that Jordan Pickford's injured because he's been on such an amazing run, really, for us for a period now of 18 months. And bring in Asmir Begovic, and he's a professional player, but this is a goalkeeper who Umar scored 2 against Bournemouth a few years ago. And so that haunts me. And I think he is a little bit statuesque in goal. I mean, I watched him last time I saw him properly in a real competitive environment was away at Arsenal in the last game of the season. And he was crap. and there were a few of the goals that Arsenal scored. I think it was a 5-1 defeat or a 5-2 defeat. A lot of the goals that we conceded, Jordan Pickford would have saved. I think at least 3 of them. So look, he's not on that same quality bracket as Jordan Pickford, but I think he's regarded as a goalkeeper that's got, he's a professional. He's played at a really high level for a number of years, and Frank Lampard has said he's dependable and he sees him as a number 1 goalkeeper. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Just got to drop out the stream for 1 second. I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Begovic is going to start in goal for us, which is a bit of a shame because of Pickford's run and Begovic, but Lampard said he's like another number 1. I know he's a good manager, Lampard. He prefers to stick to the positive things rather than anything negative. But it's not an ideal situation for us, I don't think. Okay, moving into defence, I think we should stick with the back 4 for this game. I wouldn't be fiddling around with it. I would play Michaelenko left wing back. I don't think anyone else, left back. I don't think anyone is, in competition for him at the moment, although Vinagre could definitely offer an option. Centre halves pick themselves at the moment, James Tarkowski, and my captain for the day, Connor Cody. I can't really see any alternative for the captaincy. Possibly give it to Garner. We'll come to that in a minute. So Connor Cody and James Tarkowski and Nathan Patterson at right back. I think he was brilliant against Liverpool. And even though you could argue Seamus Coleman could come in for this fixture to take the captaincy, I think there's no way he should be changing around and bringing in Coleman for Patterson when he's doing so well. So that's my back 5: Begovic, Patterson, Mikalenko, Cody, and Tarkowski. I don't think anyone could disagree with that. If you do, let me know in the comments. Would you bring in Michael Keane perhaps and go to a back 5? Let me know. I personally think that would be stupid, but you're entitled to your opinion. I want to know what people think. In midfield, okay, this is where I think you've got a bit of a selection headache. A good one, because normally we have so many players injured and unavailable. I think Idrissa Gueye has to start. I don't think there's any question about that. You want his leadership and his experience in there as the number 6. And either side of him, it's a difficult choice because you've got James Garner available. You've also got Doucouré fully fit now. But it's got to be Iwobi on the left side of a midfield 3 and Onana on the right side of a midfield 3. And I think that you've got 2 engines either side of Garner. I think you've got a lot of legs in there. I think you've got a lot of energy. To be able to try and suffocate West Ham a little bit in the midfield areas where you could say with the new signings, with Declan Rice, with Souček, they have a lot of power. They've got a lot of composure in there. And I think we've got the engine there to harry them, to press them, to stop West Ham controlling that game from those midfield areas where they're so strong. So that would be my midfield 3, although there would be an argument for some to push Iwobi to the wing and maybe bring in Doucouré, who's fully fit. I still think Iwobi is running that midfield show at the moment and he's having his best form. Doucouré's coming back from an injury, so I don't see how he's getting in that team at the moment, although I think he'll be a useful option off the bench, especially if we're winning the game and we need to shut up shop and we need some fresh legs. But it's really nice to see that we've got options there. Davis, Doucouré, James Garner, and even Alan, who hasn't played anything this season. 4 central midfielders. You could argue at least 3 of them will be on the bench, and that'll allow us to shake things up and to keep fresh in that midfield area where you'd expect us to be having to do a lot of running on Sunday. Out wide, Anthony Gordon keeps his place on the left wing for me. He's been a revelation this season. I think he's come on leaps and bounds in terms of his end product. And he looks consistent, which is what we wanted to see from him. So I'm going to say that Anthony Gordon's going to start on the left. And there isn't really a case, I don't think, for Dwight McNeil. I don't think he's shown enough for me so far this season to warrant a start. On the right, I think he's very, very left-footed and very, very predictable. Yes, he does work hard, but I'm not really seeing a justification for him to start. So I'm going to go with Demarai Gray, who I think has been brilliant for most of this season on the right. Or you can argue that the 2 wingers are going to, interchange. Now up front, I I would start with Calvert-Lewin. I think your target man, he's going to hold the ball up. He's going to be a focal point. West Ham will not like playing against Calvert-Lewin. And I think they'd prefer Neil Maupay to start. So I would go Calvert-Lewin. And what that will, and then I would say to the likes of Onana, I'd say to the likes of Iwobi, you go and join the attack. You go close to Calvert-Lewin. You go up and support him. And you've got that solidity of Garner behind. You know you've got the engine of those two players to actually get back and support in that midfield. And you've got the energy and the pace of Damari Gray and Gordon to stretch play, to make runs in behind, to play off and around Calvert-Lewin. And I think there you've got a really nice balance. And I think for the first time this season, if you start Calvert-Lewin and you play that team that I've suggested, that is our strongest 11, in my opinion. And that is our most balanced team. You can argue for likes of Ben Godfrey if they were fit and Yerry Mina, but I think that is a really solid team, and I think that would be enough to dispatch West Ham at Goodison Park with the crowd behind us, with everyone up for it, having not played football in the Premier League for a couple of weeks, and coming on the back of a derby game where you could say we were unlucky, but we were also a bit lucky, not to lose. But I think we've got a really good chance on Sunday. I'm going to quickly go to the comments. Obviously, I want to know what people think about that. Do you agree with me on the team selection? Would you be happy with that 4-3-3 formation? And with those personnel as well, let me know what you think. Nikki is saying she'd have Dom on the bench, give him 15-20 minutes. Peter is saying you need good depth and a good academy to play in European competitions. Well, that's something West Ham have got, but I'm not sure we have got, although this is looking like the most balanced we've been in a while. You could say we're a little bit top heavy on central defenders and arguably on central midfielders, and we could do with another attacking player, another winger who can also play up front, but I think that'll come. But I would rather be in Europe than not, Peter. I've got to be honest. I miss seeing us in the Europa League and being in those competitions and having Thursday night football. Interestingly enough, though, when we are talking about European football, Mohamed Kudus scored for Ajax against Liverpool, and that is it. Mudryk, who plays for Shakhtar Donetsk, he also scored against Celtic. So they were two players Everton actually made significant bids for this summer and missed out on. But I think it's positive in a way that we've shown we're actually identifying the right players and putting bids in for them. Whereas in the past, I think we've kind of, been a bit too safe with our recruitment. And I think it's nice to see we are actually looking at Europe and trying to get in these young prospects. Although it didn't happen on that occasion, it bodes well for the future. Dave Weston, bit off topic. Why Tarkowski never got because he plays for Man United, Dave. He's undroppable, Maguire, right? To be fair, Man United have done okay, but I don't even think Maguire has played in all of the games for them. Robbie is saying 3 points essential. Completely agree, Robbie. I think we've got to win on Sunday. I know there's a lot of pressure. It's 6 games without a win for us this season, and I think we've got to. I think once we get that first win, if we can keep these players fit, I think we've got a really good chance of going on a run. Because I think we're hard to beat at the moment with this 4-3-3. I absolutely hated the 5 at the back because it becomes 5 at the back. You surrender your possession on the wings. You're outnumbered in the central areas, and you haven't got anyone close enough to your main striker. I absolutely hated it because it never ended up being with the 2 wing backs nice and high and wide to create that width, and then you have some sort of overload and control. It always seemed to be like 5 statues in defence. No one knows who they're picking up. No one knows who's marking. It's easy to get behind the wing backs when they do get forward and isolate the likes of Tarkowski in the left side and channel where he's not the best defending 1v1 and doesn't quite have the pace. So I think the 4-3-3 will be the answer. I think because West Ham have got a strong midfield, but also West Ham do play 4-4-2 quite a lot. There is a potential they'd go with Antonio and Scamacca. As I say, I'm reading off their list of players, and the squad is really strong for them. And 4 defeats this season for them already, you'd say, is a disaster. But I don't think we could match them with the 4-4-2. I think I'd like that numerical advantage in the midfield to control the game, allow us to actually push our fullbacks a little bit higher, and to allow the option, the flexibility of supporting Calvert-Lewin, but also not allowing us to get dominated in areas of the pitch. So 4-3-3 all the way. Barry saying, hi Ryan from sunny Crete. Hi, hope you're enjoying yourself there, Barry, and have the same team apart from Pickford. Yeah, there's a case for that as well. I think that's probably quite likely. But Garner, I would be surprised if Garner doesn't start. And I also, um, to resist the temptation of not playing Calvert-Lewin, I think would be difficult for Frank Lampard. Eugene is talking about Connor Cody. Good afternoon, Eugene. Connor Cody, Everton captain. We're looking through that team. If Calvert-Lewin starts, I think there's an argument that you could give him the armband because he's been here a long time. I don't think you could give it to Gordon or Gray. In the midfield, also I listed Onana now. Obviously not. He's only just came here, but he has got leadership qualities. Iwobi, possibly. He's been here a while. I think that could be an option. Maybe he's running the show from midfield, so you could argue for Iwobi as captain. Why not? And Garner, you could say, is another one who's, he's very experienced. He's played for Everton, obviously, before, and he's a top player. So you could say Garner. But yeah, I mean, I said Connor Cody in my lineup should be Everton captain, and I think you want to lead from the back, and I think he's a he's a tailor-made captain. So I would expect it to be Connor Cody. Although the more I think about it, it'd be nice maybe for someone like Alex Iwobi, who can have a big influence on the game from midfield, to be given the captain responsibility. Although I'm not sure he's the loudest type. It would be interesting to see who Lampard picks. Peter saying he wants to keep Iwobi in the middle. Decore lacks the energy Iwobi brings. I think Iwobi's engine is uncomparable with the others at the moment. But Decore, I'd say the one thing he does have is a good engine when he's fully fit. And I think the beauty now is that we don't have to burn players out. We can actually rotate. We can actually bring players off and on the bench as well, instead of relying on the same names week in, week out, and increasing that risk of injuries and tiredness and burning out. Yeah. Barry saying, Everton, I've just seen a comment here I'm going to come to in a minute, Eugene. I really want to recognise that set. Hope the fans make Everton proud on Sunday during the national anthem. I think this was one of the reasons perhaps why maybe the games got postponed last weekend. Or maybe not, to be honest. But, there was some Liverpool fans at Anfield apparently that weren't observing it, but generally it was well received. And I think from my perspective, whether you believe in the monarchy or not in 2022, and we're not going to go into the politics of this, I think if you don't agree with it, just stay silent. You don't have to do anything. Just please respect it for the people, because it's not even us and whether we care or not. It's the wider football community, the wider community in the UK. If we're seen to be showing disrespect, it'll look really badly on us. So I hope that, I hope you're right, Barry. I hope that they make us proud, and do ourselves good for the national anthem, and also show respect when we pay our respects to the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. Dave Weston talking about Maguire. Yeah, he's not playing for Man U and he's still in the team. It's a good point. 2 weekends of international break after this game. Yeah, I know, Eugene. It's crap. I mean, I really don't see why we need to have an international break in the season when you've got the World Cup coming up. I think it's just disruptive, but there's not much you can do. Because Cody's on loan, I give the captaincy to someone else. Nikki, who would you go with? And Eugene is saying they were chatting to Ian from Follow Everton on Sky Sports News. Yeah, Yandalf, he was on Sky Sports News. I haven't seen it yet. Eugene, did you see it before? Did he reference Follow Everton? Did he say the channel? If he did, that would be amazing. I don't think he has done. Part of me thinks he wouldn't do that, but if he has, that's incredible. And what was he talking about, Eugene? I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I'm just going to take a photo of this because I'm going to send it to Yandalf now and say that he's been brought up. Right, so predictions then. What do we think the team prediction is going to be? Obviously, we've done team news. We've gone through team selection. We've looked at West Ham and their record. Obviously, we know all about Everton, his record. 4 draws. Liverpool, Brentford. Very similar games where Leeds, Brentford and Leeds, we've took the lead. We should held on. The goals that we conceded were dreadful, but signs of positivity. On another day, we win comfortably. Same with the Liverpool game. I think if Mope slots, we win. So I'm seeing positivity. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Everton. I think we've got enough. I think it depends a bit on whether Calvert-Lewin starts. I think if he starts, I think we'll win. I think if he doesn't start, I think it's going to be more difficult, but I still think we can get the win. And yeah, I'm excited actually. I'm looking forward to seeing Everton play on Sunday. Let me know in the comments what do you think the predictions are going to be just as we wrap things up. And also, if you're new, I'm assuming most people here watching live are already subscribed. But if you've just found us, please hit the like and subscribe button. And we'll be back for the match reaction on Sunday. I'm not sure whether we might have another show as well before the game from some of our other cast members. It would be good to see that. Just finally, before we wrap things up, Nicky's saying I'd give it to Iwobi. And Dave is saying the national media seems to think the minute silence against Ajax on Wednesday for the red shirt was impeccably observed. It wasn't the ref had to blow after 20 seconds because they were booing and singing. We need to show the country we aren't all from the same cloth. Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. Right, guys, that's all from me. It is difficult when it's just myself and no one else on the stream, but I'm glad you've been great company with me on the stream. Please like the video as well. It really helps with the algorithm. Whoever's watching, just click like. And we'll see you again soon. Be sure to also follow the main account on Twitter, which is @FollowEverton. So Everton are playing West Ham on Sunday. 2:15 kickoff at Goodison Park. I'm expecting Everton to kick off their season now finally with a win against a strong West Ham team that are struggling for results. But with Everton, who've got players fully fit and ready to go after a 2-week break, and injured players coming back, new signings coming back. So I am positive that we'll get something done. I want to see a 4-3-3. I want to see minimal changes, but I would like to see Calvert-Lewin if he is ready, Garner if he's ready, and obviously Begovic is going to be in goal. So that's my summary. See you all soon. Thank you.